Steve from Cuppa Joe here, talking about the drum recording setup and mix that we use for our new album, Kvart. This is the kit I recorded on. It's a 1981 Pearl Maxwing drum set, 12-inch rack tom, 16-inch floor tom, and 20-inch bass drum. I bought it used for $150 a few years ago. It was a grayish brown paint that was right on the shells, and I rewrapped it into this snazzy red sparkle. This is our original bass drum head from 1990. I had created the logo by drawing in pencil and then making a high contrast version on a photocopier. And then I went to a hardware store and bought contact paper and meticulously cut it out to match that logo. It's held up for 36 years. You can see that it's mic'd in a pretty traditional way. We have two overhead mics that capture a stereo image of the kit, a mic on the snare drum, mic on the rack tom, on the floor tom. There's one going into the kick, and then there's that one right there that captures the whole kit. We'll talk about that when we look at the mix. And everything goes over here into this unit and then out via USB to my laptop, which would sit here doing recording. So let's take a listen to the mix. Okay, let's take a look at the drum mix in Apple GarageBand. So we have all the different tracks here. They all correlate to the microphones. We have the overhead left and right. They're panned a little, give you a little stereo imagery, just like real life. The kick drum, the snare drum, rack tom, floor tom, and the room mic. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then we have Doug's tracks. So the way we recorded this album is Doug would record all of the instruments and vocals except for the drums, and he would give me a drumless track set to a click. In this case, it's 100 beats per minute. That's what I get. I could turn on the click track here. In fact, it's so loud down there when recording drums, I made my own extra click track. Yeah, that's what I heard when I recorded. Can't miss that, right? So here are the overheads. There's the left, there's the right. Combine them, you get a lot of cymbal, which is the idea, because the drums themselves have microphones on them. Here's the kick drum. Everything here is EQ'd and often compressed to make sure it comes through in the mix. The snare drum. Combined. These are the rack and floor toms. They're picking up everything else. There's bleed from every mic into every other element, but you can at least isolate it to some degree. See if we can get some toms in there. There we go. That's just the tom mics. And then we have the room mic. This mic is capturing the whole kit from the front, and it's super compressed. It gives you a kind of a nasty grit, and without it, everything sounds a little too sterile. So let's see. This is the full drum mix with no room mic. And we'll add it back in. A little exaggerated, it was more like this, but nice little slider there that lets some naturalism come through. You can see there's a cut here. I did this in 2 takes. Let's get over there. Right before the art saved my lifeline. That's me talking to Doug, and you can hear it bleeding through my headphones, and then drums come back in. And by this point, I'm just keeping up with the click. So I would take that entire file, send it to Doug, and he would mix it in with the rest of the instruments on the album. And that's how we got our final mixes
for Kvart, which is available this Friday, June 5th on Bandcamp and on streaming.